Hey, it's Vas here from Aussie Playground and welcome to another unboxing. Today we're going to be looking at the Teamco Rally Python, which is a 1/8 scale 4-wheel drive brushless buggy capable of running up to 6S LiPo power and reaching speeds up to 70 miles an hour, which should be about 113 Ks, somewhere around there. They've printed 110 kilometers on the box. I think it actually needs to be a little bit more than that to be 70 miles an hour. Anyway, technicalities. It's supposed to be really fast. Now, they don't give you any pinion gears or any speed charts, as spare to sort of work out, what sort of speed you're going to be doing right out of the box. I don't think the car's going to be doing 70 miles an hour right out of the box, but we will be testing that out and seeing what speeds we actually get and what pinion size you'll need to be able to reach those speeds. Now, of course, this car is a little bit of a hot topic along with a whole bunch of other releases from Teamco Rally recently. A lot of people are saying that they're copying, the Armour products and so forth. And of course, I'll be drawing a bit of a comparison to my Armour Typhons that you see back there. I've got both the 3S and 6S. And we'll be talking about the layout and some of the power system that they've put in here and all that sort of thing. Some of the design choices that they've made, I think some of them are actually pretty good. Some of them are a bit questionable. But without further ado, let's get rid of that box and let's have a look at the car, because talking in front of the box for a long period of time, I know, bores a lot of the simple-minded people out there who obviously don't want the information that I'm giving out. So let's talk about the user manual and all the goodies that you get with this car. They give you an antenna tube bonus, or half an antenna tube really, because it's quite rather small. They give you an instruction booklet for the radio. And we'll be talking about the radio in a little bit, because there's actually a couple of really interesting features that this radio comes equipped with which none of the current Armour radios come with, which I think is a bit of a leg up on Armour, to be honest with you. They've also given us a full booklet on the ESC that's provided in the car. It does have a full range of tuning options on there as well. I don't know if this ESC is locked. I haven't tried to adjust anything on it yet, but it does show that you can adjust from, your BEC. Comes out of the box with a 6-volt BEC, but apparently you can adjust it to 7.4. That's a huge advantage, because a lot of people that have a lot of the Armour cars, normally if you want to run a high voltage servo, you have to swap out the ESC. And I kind of wish that Armour would change that out so that we could adjust the BEC settings on those speed controllers. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Now, the user manual for this car is very basic. I think Teamco Rally need to do a little tiny bit of work on the user manual. They give you all the parts and like part numbers and everything for the car. There's also some exploded views in here, which will kind of help you in doing some maintenance if you have to pull things apart. Kind of shows you how it all goes back together and so forth. So they've got some very basic sort of exploded views, but there are no part numbers on these exploded views, and that can be a little bit tricky to try and find the exact part number on the listings that they have at the back for what you do now, or for what it is that you need. Now, there are some parts here that are obviously quite distinctive and you'll know exactly what you're looking for, but there are certain things like screws and little washers and things like that. You can't really see the size of it and the shape of it properly, so it's kind of a little bit tricky. If you don't know if this part goes to the front of the car or the rear of the car and so forth. I think you get what I mean. I think Teamco Rally can do a little bit better on the user manual, but they did provide us with the information, independent information for both the radio and the ESC, which I think is a good thing. All right, speaking of the radio, this is the guy that you get with these cars. Now, it's a funky looking radio. I don't mind it. I think it looks kind of cool. It does have a rubber grip on the back, and it does feel very comfortable in the hand. So, nice little foam wheel on here. It is a little bit squeaky, at least mine is anyway. Yours might not be. And it has all the usual trimmings. You've got steering dual rates, you've got steering trims, steering and throttle trim. You've got steering and throttle reverse switches. There's a little bind button on the back here. You've got a 70-30 and a 50-50 switch on here as well. And then you've got your on and off switch down the back here. So pretty standard stuff, but this radio has a couple of tricks up its sleeve, and that is that it actually has endpoint adjustments via a programming sequence that you need to do with it. So when you power on the radio, you're supposed to have, I think, full throttle on or full brake on or something like that. It's all in the little user manual there. And then you can adjust steering endpoint left and right by turning the wheel and adjusting the steering trim. And you can also adjust throttle endpoint adjustment, which means you can actually cap the top speed of the car. So if you want to lower the top speed of the car because it might be too quick for you, you know, if this is one of your first cars and this is a little bit fast, you can actually turn that down. Or if you want to lend it to somebody that's a little bit inexperienced, that's also a good option to have. So very cool radio, very well equipped as well. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have those knobs there on the side, you know, for all your endpoint adjustments. But instead, you got to, you know, turn the wheel, press the button, stand on one foot, all that sort of stuff, just to be able to adjust those settings. But at least they're there, so that's a bonus. All right, for the car itself. Here we go. So that is the body there. Now, I know the body and the color scheme might be a bit of an acquired taste to some people. Wheels look kind of cool. Tires don't look too bad. I don't mind that. The body's got, you know, 8 holes on top there for ventilation. Nice, thick, beefy wing mount on the back. We'll see how long that holds up. Hopefully it doesn't snap off. Now, a couple of interesting things here. While I've got the body on, I might show you this. There's actually a clip here on the front. This is part of this plate underneath that goes along, you know, the side of the chassis there. That actually holds the body in place. And I guess, you know, there's one on the other side as well. I guess that's kind of cool. You know, it kind of stops the body from flopping around or, I don't know, coming off or doing something. But I think that's a kind of nifty little thing. I don't think anybody ever asked for that, but at least it's there, so that's cool. Just 2 body pins to take the body off, which is very nice and easy and pretty standard for most of these 1/8 scale buggies. Now, when it comes to the body itself, there's that problem, which is this little nose that they've left on the body. I don't know why they didn't split this up. I mean, it almost looks, if you look at the front of the car, it almost looks like you can put a screw through the front of this nose and hold that in there independently. And I may actually look at doing that, because having to put the body on and off and feed it through that front shock tower every time is rather annoying. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's a misstep there. They could have done that a little bit better and made it a bit easier for us, but I digress. The body itself, pretty rigid. Feels nice and tough. I don't really have any complaints about the body. You know, it's a standard screen printing. They haven't gone to the extent of putting any sort of protective film or anything like that, or stickers on the inside of the body like you see in the armour cars. So they at least didn't copy them there, for those of you who think that they're copying them. You know, the style of the body actually looks, I think, quite a fair bit different to a lot of the 1/8 scale bodies that are out there. Similar shape, but they've done enough to, you know, be a standalone thing. Now, for the car itself, there it is. That's what you get. And of course, underneath you have the aluminium chassis there. So kind of an interesting layout. And of course, I will be showing you some close-ups of this car so we can go through this and really pick out some of the things that I think they've done pretty well, and some of the things that I think, this is interesting. I'll see how that holds up. So let's start with the tyres and work our way in. Tyres themselves actually don't feel too bad. They do have a little bit of a plasticky feel to them, but that could be just my, I don't know, they're okay. They feel okay. It's got this sort of like flowery pattern to them. Obviously this isn't designed to be on any type of racetrack. They've just done this for a generic sort of tread pattern, something that hopefully grips in a variety of different surfaces, depending on what you're going to be running the car on. The wheels themselves actually look really nice. I'm a big fan of the wheels, like that. And of course, you've got your standard sort of low profile tyre. Foams, again, like with most of these ready-to-run cars, whenever I get a 1/8 scale buggy, it always seems to have like what feels like kind of softish foams. But that's okay. We'll see. We'll see how that holds up. Suspension, not too bad. Not too bad. I think it's got a little bit more rebound in the rear from what I'm feeling here. The front feels like it's a little bit nicer tuned. It feels a little bit smoother. The back kind of feels like the oil could have been maybe slightly thicker. Yeah, it just feels like it's got a little bit more rebound in the rear. Now, that may or may not be a bad thing. You know, until I run the car, I don't know how that's going to affect performance, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, it does have your standard pillow ball or pivot ball suspension setup in the front, which is exactly the same as what you'll see in a lot of the Armour cars. And I'm sure that there are other 1/8 scale buggies out there that also run this suspension, and other cars as well. So this is not totally uncommon. It does look like they've done everything as per the book. There's really nothing here that's standing out going, okay, they've changed something. But everything looks okay. You do have CVDs in the drive shafts at the front. You got pre-installed sway bars front and rear. You got a pretty beefy front bumper on here as well. And I like what they've done with the front bumper, because I'll see if I can show you this up close here. But hopefully this will make a little bit of sense. So the bumper actually wraps around the bottom of the chassis here, just on these corners, which is kind of interesting. So I don't mind that design. And then behind that, of course, you've got like a plastic hinge pin brace, which I think may have an aluminium insert. I can't really tell. It does have an aluminium insert, yes. So it's a plastic cover over an aluminium brace that's holding those hinge pins. And then at the back, it looks like it's the same story. So you've got aluminium hinge pin braces on the front and rear of the front A-arms. So pretty cool there. What else can I tell you? The shocks, of course, big bore, 1/8 scale, aluminium threaded body shocks, as per standard. No surprises here. Now, an interesting thing regarding the shock towers, the front shock tower is only 4mm thick, while the rear shock tower is actually 5mm thick. Now, the aluminium on these actually does feel quite nice. It doesn't feel as rough as the ones that you'd find in the Armour cars, but the Armour at least have gone 5 front and rear, 5mm front and rear. So interesting design choice here, going with something a little bit thinner in the front end. I don't know why they've done it that way, but we'll see how that shock tower holds up. Of course, that leads, down to the sort of upper plate here, where your steering rack and mechanism and everything else, your Anchorman's all in there, and that all seems to work as per standard. There's no real sliding mechanisms here. It does have a little aluminium Anchorman there as well. And of course, that leads to your servo saver, which looks to be adjustable. Yes, so it is an adjustable servo saver. And then of course, you've got the steering servo, which is rated at 6 volts and 20 kilograms. So they've gone for something a little bit stronger than what's supplied in the Armour cars, which is nice to see. Hopefully these servos will hold up, and it's not going to strip gears or die or anything like that, because I know a lot of guys out there complain about the Armour servos, even though to this day I still haven't had one fail on me. On the opposing side, we have, of course, the battery tray. Now, this is where I think this car kind of starts to look quite different from what you'd find in the competition, and that is that the battery tray is non-adjustable in length at all. So you have to find batteries that fit in here. Otherwise, you're really going to struggle to find, to run this thing on 6S. You've got to be very mindful with the size of the batteries that you pick. 4S is not going to be an issue. Standard 4S batteries will fit in here, no problem. Your issue is going to be finding 6S batteries that fit in here. Now, no doubt they exist. I've got a couple of 3S batteries that I can use in here quite easily. So there's no problem in doing so, but you just got to be mindful of that. You don't have the freedom, especially in the length of the tray, that you will find in some of the other Armour vehicles that we're all seeing, used to using. The ESC sits back here. This does come with XT90 connectors pre-installed. Big thumbs up for Team Co-Rally there. Really appreciate the beefy battery connectors. XT90s, very easy to solder on, readily available in all parts of the world nowadays, and definitely able to run 6S without any problems at all. So big thumbs up to them for doing that. Appreciate the big connectors, albeit I'm going to be cutting them out anyway because I use XT150s. But that's my decision, not theirs. The ESC is 150 amps, and it does have a beautiful push button there. So I think this is a Max 8 ESC in disguise. That's my guesstimate, but we'll see. I like the fact that it doesn't have a sliding switch. Again, another big thumbs up to Team Co-Rally for doing push button. Sliding switches are incredibly annoying. I really wish that Armour would do that with their 6S lines, and even pretty much every RC shouldn't have sliding switches today. I'm pretty confident that these push button switches are easy enough to manufacture and cheap enough to manufacture that all ESCs can have them. I know that there are some push button switches on the actual ESCs themselves. There are certain brands out there that have the button, the on and off button on the ESC, and I appreciate that. But yeah, these types of things, sliding switches, come on, enough. Of course, that is then paired off to a 4074 2050 kV brushless motor on the opposing side. Very similar specs, in fact, identical specs to what Armour is using, but a very nice looking motor nonetheless. So the important thing here is it going to be powerful enough? Is it going to hold up? That's the trick. It may be the exact same motor that Armour's using. It could come out of the same factory and just they've put a different coat of paint on it and called it something different. But the specs look to be exactly the same. So who knows? Maybe it is the exact same motor. I do like the fact that they have a sliding motor mount on here from factory. So not something that you need to upgrade to. So I do appreciate that. And there's also a nice little gear cover on here as well to prevent your wires or your fingers getting caught up in gears. So again, another little good design tip of the hat there for Team Co Rally. Now these cars are advertised as splash proof. They are not advertised as waterproof. And I think the reason for that, or one of the reasons, could at least be for the receiver box that they've got here. It's not a 100% watertight receiver box. I'm sure people that really love running in snow and water and what have you could probably modify that and make sure that it's all 100% waterproof, but they are saying that it's splash proof. Just something to keep in mind. Let's move on. Before I forget, we do have adjustable toe links in the front as well. Moving on to the back, of course, we have your plastic chassis brace on the back here, and then that is mounted onto the top of the bulkhead for the rear diff. And you got your shock towers. You got very beefy camber links in the rear of the car as well, and then you've got these really beefy A-arms in the back of the car that you can see just there. So pretty cool little buggy. Chassis does look to be 3mm thick, I beg your pardon. It is a 3mm thick. It's very nicely finished. The whole car looks, pretty reasonably built. And then of course, as I said, the wing mount is back here, which of course looks to be pretty beefy. And the wing mount, the wing itself is adjustable. So you can actually adjust the pitch of the wing to suit your needs, depending on what it is you want to do. As I said, the car does look pretty well built. There's a couple of really nice touches that I like they've put these aluminium washers on some of the screws that actually hold the plastics down onto the chassis. I like the nice aluminium servo horn, which I know a lot of companies already do that. The suspension feels okay. The electrics look to be, of quality. At least they look like they derive from Hobbywing, so that's got to be something good. Hobbywing have proven themselves over the years to be quite a reliable company when it comes to these electrics, so I'm pretty pumped with that. 20 kilogram steering servo. Again, another good thing about this car. Tyres remain to be seen. How the suspension is tuned and how it's going to work out there in the real world, again, that remains to be seen. The radio looks to be very well featured out of the box, so I'm pretty impressed with that. It does feel good in the hand, but how it's actually going to feel when I'm driving the car, that's something that, of course, we're going to be finding out as I drive this thing. Hopefully in the near future. I hope I can still drive this thing given the current climate and status of the world, which is a little bit crazy, but yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting addition. I think it's always good to try, different brands here on the channel. I'm always open to trying different brands. You guys have seen me try all sorts of, brands from all sorts of different parts of the world. This one apparently is designed in Belgium, or maybe made in Belgium, or designed in Belgium, I know that. And it does look interesting. I'm really looking forward to running it. I want to see what top speed we can get out of this car. I want to see how it's going to perform over at the BMX track. What sort of durability issues am I going to have? Does it have enough speed? Is it going to handle well? The radio going to be okay? All of these questions hopefully will be answered in the near future when I start actually using this vehicle and giving you guys some feedback on the experience that I'm having with it. So that is where I'm going to leave this unboxing. If you've made it all the way to the end, hey, big thumbs up to you. Please don't forget to thumbs up the video as well, because that does help me out a lot. If, of course, you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I've got heaps of videos, not just on this car, but on heaps of others that you see behind me. I've got planes, cars, trucks, boats, you name it. I've done a lot of things, so I'm sure to keep a lot of people entertained out there. And that's pretty much it for now. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check out the video description for socials and some more information on the Team Rally Python. I thank you all very much for watching, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.